Episode 188 begins with a very good question from Mike. It's this: I'm more interested these days in finding exercises for good general fitness that also have a low risk of injuries. Agreed. I guess that's the Mike. Before we even answer the question, I guess that would be the perfect risk to benefit thing. I also would always include clarity on that. The clarity of teaching something. Your point is great. What are the best exercises with the least risk? That's always a good question. I've got a number of your books, thank you, and I'm loving your recent Easy Strength Omni book, thank you, available at easystrengthomnibook.com. Come on, people, buy that book. It's not selling well. And then I'll get little quote points in the comments. I'm waiting for it to be in print. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice. With shipping costs the way they are right now, it'll be cheaper for you to get the PDF, take it over to one of these office places, have them bind it for you. I had one person tell me and showed me the copy and was like, well, that's better than what that service based on a river in northern and southern America can do. At a much more reasonable price too. And I was wondering if you could address what you found to be the dangerous exercises one should really avoid. It's a good question, There's a lot of things in life it's kind of a good idea to avoid. Let's see what we can do here. For example, I'm a rower, and a common test used to be a timed bench press for reps. For rowing, I don't see that. Until the high-end programs figured out it causes too many rib injuries from forcibly hitting the bottom of the bench while laying on it. Let me just add one other thing. The bench press is the only exercise I know that kills. When I was young, a guy in San Francisco died bench pressing alone. A couple of years ago, my friend Dan Martin told me about a case his son was involved. His son's a detective, and they found a man dead doing bench presses for his little video camera. This is really a good question. I know this depends on the experience of the person, but what sort of exercises are just too risky, in your opinion, to do in a home gym, like bench press, for example? Are there others to avoid in the kettlebell world? Oh, I like that. So are there home exercises with kettlebells you should avoid? Here's the funny thing. In 1974, I read an article by Dave Davis that if you combine the power lifts and the Olympic lifts, you basically have a perfect discus and shot put throwing program. And if you look at the programs from the late 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and really up to today, it's still that way. Having said that, the bench press, the deadlift, the back squat, the Olympic clean and press, it's not been around since 72, the snatch and the clean and jerk are all marvelous exercises, but done incorrectly, they can wreck you. And I mean wreck you. I've had surgeries because of missed lifts. I'm not proud of it. As great an exercise as the deadlift is, if you don't have the body type that fits as the height of the bar off the ground, it can wreck you. Squats are great, but boy, I tell you, I've seen some. I just saw a video online of a guy crashing and burning doing a squat, and I don't even know how they did it. The workout shall not be named guy did snatches, and it was a poorly designed setup, and he really hurt himself badly on his back. So as much as I love the Olympic lifts and the power lifts, those exercises done poorly are very not good. Please write that sentence down and memorize it. In a home gym setup, I think you should really have safety as one of the issues. But I always teach, like with discus throwing, safety equals performance. With kettlebells, safety equals performance. If a whole bunch of us go out to a field, I'm probably the safest thrower there because I'm going to keep it inside the sector and it's going to go basically in a straight line. The person who's never seen it before picks it up and throws it into the crowd. Their lack of ability makes them less safe, if you're following my point. So as you go to workshops, as you have some feedback, as you have some coaching, some training, as you practice, you're going to get a better and better and better lift. You're going to get more out of the lifts. You're going to get more out of your training, and you're going to be safer for yourself. In the kettlebell world, the ones it's pretty simple. I mean, the lifts I would avoid training by yourself, generally like the bench press. We used to joke at my gym, how do you know someone's training for the second cert, the RKC? Because how do you know they're injured? Because they're training for the second. Training for the bench press seems to hurt a lot of people. Now, I've worked very hard in the last few years to come up with a toolkit that's safer. I've worked, we do a lot of kneeling windmill work, a lot of real safe movements, a lot more band work, a lot more rope work, a lot more hand on fist teaching. So if something goes wrong, the bell isn't pulling you out and popping your shoulder a little bit. So the kettlebell bench press, for the 9 people in the world who enjoy it, keep doing it. Good for you. Boy, I tell you, some of the windmills I watch people do online or even in live, very dangerous. The windmill is a hip hinge with an intelligent twist, and the windmill is a wonderful exercise for assessment, which is, by the way, why I like the Turkish get-up. Is it's probably one of the best everyday assessments you can do. I know this when I go to the floor in a Turkish get-up, I get all kinds of insights about the plane flight or the car ride or the Olympic lifting or the touch football game I played 2 days before. I'll start to go down and I'll be like, oh, I am racked up here, and I'll spend more time, doing mobility or, whatever, foam rolling or whatever I need to do, hanging from a bar, whatever I need to do. So let's go this. So bench press, if you're good at it, you're probably safe in a home gym-ish. Windmills done correctly should be safe. Turkish get-ups can be done, if you're trying to win the internet, I can't recommend it. But if you're using them as an intelligent assessment, as a whole body movement, a whole body workout, I'm with you. I would avoid. I hate double kettlebell snatches. I don't see any value to them. I don't like you have to put them up ballistically and then you have to catch it. I don't see a lot of even good people do them right. As an Olympic lifter, I've snatched 142.5 kilos, 314 pounds. And yet when I do double 24s with the double kettlebell snatch, I put those overhead and there's a moment of pause like, wow, I always have to have a moment when I hit that position where I kind of go, I wouldn't say I panic, but it's like, boy, if you do these badly, this will go badly. So the more advanced lifts, and in fact, I would say the whole RKC2 cert, done correctly, every one of the exercises is very good, done correctly. And that's what it comes down to, Mike. And are you going to do, if you're going to do the cert, you're going to take the time to learn the movements and maybe teach other people, yeah, they're fine. But if not, I would avoid them. So what would be a great kettlebell workout? Well, I have this one workout I call the perfect workout. Half kneeling presses, you hang, you do hip thrusts from the floor, you do goblet squats, and you do march in place with suitcase carries. In my experience, that little group of exercises is almost, there's no such thing as, no guarantees of it, but they're pretty much injury-free. They're fairly dummy-proof. They all have their own built-in warning systems. If you're doing a half-kneeling kettlebell press and as you go up, you start to fall, it's, you bring the bell back down and say, "Oh, let's reset. Let's get those feet back on the ground. Let's lock and load." So there are exercises that can be more dangerous than others. Done correctly, with appropriate warm-up, with appropriate arousal and tension levels, with good equipment in an appropriate setting. I mean, I don't know of we can mitigate any of the dangers of the exercises, I think. But it takes the discipline to put together, to have the good equipment, to have the proper instruction, to have, to be warmed up, to be prepared physically and emotionally over, anywhere from 2 weeks to 12 weeks. Those are the keys. So Mike, like almost anything, anything in the gym can be dangerous if you're foolish. Anything in the gym can be safe if you take the time and energy to do them correctly. I know basically I just said a whole bunch of nonsense in a way. Everything I just said is, well, of course. But my number one coaching principle in my Coaching 101 course, excellence is obvious. Success is obvious. The concepts are obvious. Obvious is the most important thing a coach can have. So when you want to deal with things like safety, when you want to deal with things like any kind of performance, obvious is what you want to focus on. And it's obvious that safety is important. So there you go. So obviously, I hope you learned something from this question. I cracked myself up.